Hello world! Today it is a cooking show, and today we have a shit ton of mushrooms. I found these mushrooms in the woods. You never know what you'll find in the mystical, magical forests of the Pacific Northwest. So join me today as we make a really delicious meal, which is wild mushroom, green bean. I'm using canned green beans, but you can use fresh green beans too. This just makes it easier after you've been out in the woods all day and you're kind of tired from being out in the woods all day. So it's wild mushroom, green bean, and crunch, crunch, crunch. Funyun Cassarole. Wild mushroom, green bean, Funyun Cassarole. And it says on the Funyun package that Funyun brand onion flavored rings are fun. So let's get ready to cook. In order to cook this meal, you're going to need mushrooms. You're going to need 4 cans of green beans. You're going to need cheese, cheddar preferably, and you're going to need 1 whole onion and milk and flour. It can be any kind of flour. This is like the flour that you're used to. This is rice flour, so I'm using that. Because we're on the gluten freeze, so all the gluten acids have been frozen in the banks of glutonia, and we have to use rice flour. So why don't we begin? And butter. You're going to need butter. A good way to clean your mushrooms is if you take a big bowl and you put all of your mushrooms in there. Okay, so now that you have your bowl full of mushrooms, you fill this with water. So now it's like a big mushroom punch bowl party, and you mix it around. And if you see any conspicuous bits of dirt in your mushroom, you can pull them off. Put down some paper towels or something. And just lay your mushrooms out. Take your onion and cut it right in half. And then you kind of cut out the hard little butts. Because in any kind of gnarl, if there's any kind of like mold or hardness up near the top, you get rid of that too. Okay. The way to chop the onion is to just kind of follow the lines in the onion and go right across. Okay, check it out. Next side. Okay, spread it out. Okay, so as soon as that gets all kind of nice and melted, then you add the onion. And you should hear it start to sizzle as soon as you pour it in. Continue to cook that on a medium heat until the onions are translucent. Now, in your other container, you're going to take maybe 2 to 3 to 4 tablespoons of butter, depending on how much you're making. Casserole is one of those wonderful things that you don't really have to like pay attention to that much. You can just kind of cook, and it will still come out okay. Kind of keep an eye on your onions and stir them as you go. And now melt your butter in here. Okay, so as soon as all your butter is melted, then you're going to want to put in like 5 or 6 tablespoons of flour. I'm using rice flour, so this can be copacetic with the gluten-free. Keep stirring your onions, and if they start to get too brown before they get translucent, turn down the temperature. Mix that in and see how it looks. Okay, now for your mushrooms, you just kind of take them on your cutting board. They're going to need to cook for quite a while because if they're straight from the forest, they're going to be really damp. Just kind of really like nonchalantly or haphazardly chop them up. If you haphazardly chop your mushrooms, it'll kind of have this nice home style. You don't want to chop them up too much, but any big chunks like this, like from the chanterelle, chop that up really well. Don't chop up the little guys too much. It's good to have a few whole chunks of mushroom in there, I think. Okay, and add all this in with the onion. If you see any really big chunks after you put it in, you can kind of take those and just break them up. Keep your flour and butter cooking until it starts to get golden brown. That looks pretty good. Get that off the burner. If it starts to get really watery like this, that's okay, because it's just all the water cooking out of the mushrooms from the forest. As you cook your mushrooms, go through and pick out any pine needles or chunks of dirt or anything that you might see from the forest. Okay, back to this. I almost forgot about it. So, now you want to add some milk. Just add a few cups, add a whole bunch. Don't kind of like, good. In fact, I could use even more milk than that. Another good. There. Milk is nutritious and good for you. Eventually, your mushroom onion mixture begins to look like that, which is good. Okay, once your flour and milk and butter mixture comes to a boil, you boil it for 2 minutes after that. Okay, once it's been 2 minutes, you take that off the burner, and you can season it with salt. Don't use too much salt because the Funyuns are going to be really salty. And pepper. Crazy pepper shaker. And just a dash of tobasco. Now you pour your mushroom onion mixture into here. So once you've mixed this into here, congratulations, you've made cream of mushroom soup. You could have this just as it is, pretty much as a cream of mushroom soup. If it's a little thick for your liking, you could thin it with some vegetable broth or with cream or milk, whole milk preferably. And you have a cream of mushroom soup, and it's really good. But we're not making cream of mushroom soup, we're making green bean casserole. So the next step is to take a bowl. Take some Funyons. What's that mean? So you take some Funyons and you just smash them up. kind of fun. I guess that's why they call them Funyuns. And basically any little wormy pieces, you just want to smash them. Okay, now the next thing you need is you need four cans of green beans. So take your green bean can like this. Green beans. Just open it with the can opener. Leave the lid on so that you can kind of press it and drain it. So you drain out all of that gunk. Okay. Drain out all of the gunk. And rinse it a few times like that. That light. I know, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Okay, and then you add your green beans to the bowl. And you repeat the process. Okay, so after the third can, then you add your mushroom soup. And you see how well it distributes, because you may need to only have 3 cans. But if you made a good amount of mushroom soup, then you can get away with having your full 4 cans of green beans. But if you didn't make enough, you might want to stop at 3 cans. And just stir it all together. Smells good. I think that there's enough good soupiness here for 1 more can of green beans. Okay, pour it in, mix it all together, let it envelop the green beans. You get all the Funyuns up from the bottom. Now you need a casserole dish, and you know what, my casserole dish is underneath the laptop, so I gotta get that out. Okay, so here you can't really see as well, but that's what it looks like. And then you take your dish and you lightly grease the pan. Pour in your green bean and mushroom soup mixture. Yeah, this will be just the right size. Make sure your oven, you need to make sure your oven is preheated to 350 degrees, because otherwise it won't be warm when you go to put your dish in. Okay, so now that everything's ready, you just put it in the oven. Here's our oven. The light, you see. And don't think that it looks empty, because we're going to put all the good toppings on in just a bit. Put it right in the middle of the oven. And we set the timer for 20 minutes. One good thing to have with this meal is just plain white rice, because it can be a little bit greasy after the cheese melts, and so plain white rice kind of really helps absorb it. You need one of these non-stick pans, and just a teeny little bit, just like a little sliver of butter. Okay, so we're going to make some rice. So we have a cup. Get a cup of rice. I get this giant thing of rice, and this has probably lasted almost a year. Oh, it's still going. I make rice all the time. Measure out a cup. So now you've melted your butter in your nonstick pan. Right. And then you add a cup of rice. No water yet. Okay, and then you just stir it around. And then you measure 1 3/4 cup of water. This measuring cup or jar only goes up to 1/2, so I'm going to measure a cup and I'm going to measure 3/4. You really want to throw that in when it starts to sizzle, but it's fine if you do it the right way. Okay, and you can season this with some salt, pepper, whatever you like your rice seasoned with. Alright, and then just let that come to a boil, and then we'll cover it once it comes to a boil. Cheers. Beer. Beer's really good. So yeah, let's talk about mushrooms. When you're in the forest and you're looking for mushrooms, there's a few things that you must know and consider. Like, first of all, if you're looking for yellowfoot mushrooms, you always need to look on the base to make sure that it actually is yellow. That's really important. And then you also have to look under the gills and make sure it kind of has that chanterelle stuff. They used to think that the yellowfoot mushroom was this is almost starting to boil. Wait till it comes to a rolling boil. They used to think that the yellowfoot mushroom was part of the chanterelle family, but apparently it's not. It's its own thing. Then you have the hedgehog mushroom. The hedgehog mushroom is, I think it's called a hedgehog because the teeth, it's got little specks of dirt in it, doesn't it? The teeth look like maybe like the spines of a hedgehog. It's kind of hard to show you, but believe me, they're there. And they look like that on top when you see them. Some of them don't look like that though. Some of them are filled in like that. I guess you could say that some of them are innies and some of them are outies, huh? See? Okay, so as soon as your rice is done cooking, you can take it off the burner. Don't open it. Whatever you do, do not open it. Just leave it closed. And turn off your heat and just let it hang out there for 5 minutes. The casserole's probably done. Oh yeah. I kind of forgot about that. Okay, so this is a little overcooked, but that's alright. It's still going to be really good. Alright, pull that out. You definitely need to let this guy rest for a while. He'll be alright. Okay, and so now you just have to plate the meal. Add the rice. And And there you have homemade green bean and hedgehog and yellowfoot casserole that is topped with cheese and has Funyuns in it. So this is a delicious meal that you can serve, and it's really hearty and nutritious, and it's a good way to use up Funyuns, and it's a good way to use your wild mushrooms, and it's really delicious with any type of mushroom that you have. And you can use, if you want to use fresh green beans, you can just poach them first and still put them in. And the canned green beans makes it really fast and easy. So I hope you enjoy this meal. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Cheers!